everybody that is a Jet fan, we're going crazy about this story. The Jets finally make noise at the trade deadline, maybe not in a good way in some people's minds, but in my thought and the way I categorize what has happened with the New York Jets, the Jets right now are rebuilding. They have a new coach that a lot of fans don't like for some reason. I have no idea why. After a half a season, they're just throwing him away. This is a guy that is their own. This is a guy that was drafted by the Jets. This is a guy that was successful as a player with the Jets. We all know this was not Aaron Glenn's roster. This was Robert, a.k.a. Bambi Saleh's roster. That's whose roster it was. All these players, Quinnen Williams, who wasn't even drafted by Joe Douglas in that regime. He was drafted with the regime before that. He was the only guy still a part of that regime on the roster. Sauce Gardner, who is a sensational player, but over the past year and a half, has not played, as far as I'm concerned, in PFF ways, as an elite corner. This year, he was ranked in the 20s in PFF. Last year, it was closer to the teens. He's an elite corner when you look at the size and the ability that this kid has. But the things that he does on the field, yanking on jerseys and maybe not playing as hard as you would expect a top corner to play, it makes you worry if you're going to pay a guy $30 million, that kind of money, and not get the most out of him. Aaron Glenn obviously didn't think that he would fit the culture in that locker room. And I've heard through the grapevine that he hasn't been a culture setter in that locker room. Then there's Quinnen Williams. Quinnen Williams, who I have a lot of respect for. He's been a top defensive lineman in the league for the last 5-6 years. Got a lot of money from the Jets. He had one great season with the Jets where I remember he had over 10 sacks. It reminds me of quite a few defensive players in the past. And we'll have Quentin Copels on the show, and I'm sure he knows who I'm speaking about. I will give you one of those guys, Muhammad Wilkerson. Muhammad Wilkerson had one great season for the New York Jets and then got an extension. I remember there were a lot of New York broadcasters that said, if they don't sign Muhammad Wilkerson, I'm done with the Jets. Well, they signed him. They gave him a big-time deal worth about $87 million. He was one of the highest-paid defensive linemen, and then he broke his fibula. He was never the same player. And again, going back to the Jets and the back end of the New York Jets, there's a lot to not like about this organization. One of them, well, your owner's name is Woody Johnson. Woody Johnson. That by itself scares me when we're talking about a guy's name, Woody, and his last name, Johnson. He hasn't done anything for this organization as far as put the right guys in position to succeed. He has been the voice of reason when it comes to picking up players and selling them off. He's also a guy that opened his mouth so far this season and thrown his starting quarterback under the bus. You don't want to hear that from your owner. Because when you have an owner that opens his mouth to the media, what else is he telling what else is he telling the media? The New York Jets are an organization that is a laughingstock of the NFL. Longest tenure of teams not to make the playoffs. And when you look at that, 15 years not in the playoffs and rooting for this team who has some of the best fans, I won't lie about this. I attack the Jet fans, but the Jet fans are reliable when it comes to going to games, showing up, and rooting for this horrible team called Gang Green, which, by the way, they should change the name. It's a horrible name. It's probably one of the worst things about him. Sauce Gardner is a guy that is dating a rapper named Ice Spice, okay? During the offseason, it was big in the tabloids. As important as what the Jets did in the offseason, that is what I heard about the New York Jets. Hey, guess what, everybody? Sauce is dating Ice Spice. Who cares? And the fact right now is Sauce is going to a team that gave the New York Jets 2 first-round picks. Now, we don't know what those picks are going to be. We don't know what Darren Mougey is going to do with those picks. We don't know if Darren Mougey can actually draft. We don't know. But what I do know about this team and about this coaching staff is Steve Wilkes will not be here next year. I can guarantee that. And this team of misfits, and I mean misfits because you have Breece Hall coming out and pretty much ordering the Jets to trade him at the trade deadline, saying he wants out. That's why the Jets didn't trade him. And then Quincy Williams came out after his brother was traded to the Cowboys and said, some interesting things and posted stupid things. And that's why the Jets are sitting him out as a backup linebacker. This guy was the Jets' best linebacker going into the season, and now he's a secondary player that might not even start for the rest of the season. Why? Because he's got a big mouth. And the Jets have always let these players speak their mind. Not anymore. Aaron Glenn does not want his players going out there and abusing the media. Over the last couple of years, Robert Saleh has allowed these idiots to go out there, speak their mind, and throw the organization under the bus like a clown, like a circus clown. And the New York Jets have always been looked at as a circus. And Aaron Glenn does not want to be looked at like that anymore. And I don't think Darren Mougey wants that either. Now, Woody Johnson needs to stay away. He needs to keep his mouth shut. That is something that they need to figure out how to control. But what the Jets did at the trade deadline was a slam dunk. Guys, think about this. I don't care what players, Mitchell or Smith, those guys might not be a part of the team at the end of the season. I don't know. We'll see. Mitchell's young. He's 23 years old. He'll have a chance to make the team next year. He was a second-round talent. He could still be very, very good. We'll see. The Jets will develop him. The Colts did not because they didn't need him. They had Pittman. They had Downs. They have a bunch of good wide receivers there. They didn't need Mitchell. They drafted him in the second round last year. It didn't work. But with these picks, it sets the Jets up very well going into the next two off seasons. And now they have to find a franchise quarterback. They have to. It is a must to find a franchise quarterback in the next two seasons. Now, I don't know if it's going to be in this year's draft because the Jets screwed up again. They beat Cincinnati at the tail end of the game where they were the bona fide number one pick. And then all of a sudden at the trade deadline, they move Sauce, they move Quinnen, and pretty much tell you, we give up on the season. We're waving the flag. The season is over for us. Then why would you win that game if you know the season is over? That was the stupidity of this organization. I remember. Now, thank God Trevor Lawrence is not a Jet after what we've seen over the last couple of years with the Jaguars. But the Jet fans were pissed off when they beat the Rams. I mentioned that on the show about a week ago because they lost out on Trevor Lawrence. Instead, they got Zach Wilson, and we all know what he was doing with his mother's best friend. It's a problem when you bring in the wrong guys to an organization that's been a laughingstock. We look at so many organizations that have been laughingstocks. Cleveland, laughingstock. Cincinnati, laughingstock. I could go on and on and on. Miami, laughingstock. There are like 6 or 7 teams in the NFL that are successful and have been successful over the last 25 years. And you all know who they are. Because ownership, success of leaving in place the right coaching staff. That is what makes teams successful. The Jets, well, here in New York, they don't know how to hold on to coaches, GMs, you name it, assistants. They have one guy that they've held on to, and that's because he's the owner of the team. It doesn't, and even him, he wasn't there because he decided to move to England when Donald Trump went on to take over for the United States. And his brother Chris was running the show. It's an organization that's been a joke. And me as a Jet fan, I'm wearing a Danny Dimes jersey because I just got it. It's a Colts jersey. I know Fish doesn't like it, and that's why I love it. And I got it made, and I will show you what it says in the back. My problem here is not what Darren Mougey has done. There is nothing that tells me, yes, Fish, thank you. My thoughts to what Darren Mougey has done at the trade deadline is not bad. It's good. Because what he is trying to do is send away the bad in that locker room. Now, Quinnen Williams didn't want to be there. We've heard through the grapevine for the last 2 years he didn't want to be there. Breece Hall doesn't want to be there. So the Jets are going to do what they need to do and sign and trade. I guarantee you they're going to sign him, or they're going to, what do they call that, Speedy?
Franchise tag.
Franchise tag Breece Hall in the offseason just to piss him off, and they're going to move him. They're going to do what they want with him. Dangle him around until somebody gives them what they want, which is a third-round pick. The Jets have done the right thing. Jet fans, sit back and just smile. Did you think that this was going to be a fun season? Did you think that this was going to be a great season? Do you really think that this team can compete right now against the New England Patriots and what they put together with Vrabel? You had a chance to hire Vrabel. If you wanted Vrabel, you shouldn't have let him leave New Jersey. He left and he went to the Patriots. If you wanted him so bad, you should have given him whatever he wanted. And that's why I think Aaron Glenn was the right fit for the right organization. He wants to be here. He wants to win here. He wants to show fans that they can win here. Why is everybody attacking what they have done at a trade deadline that was wide open? And they got 3 first-round draft picks and a second-rounder for the next 2 years. Why is there so much sorrow and so much craziness right now in Jetland? Because the Jet fans should sit back and shut up. Zipper your mouths. The problem right now is going to be what the offseason is going to lie with this new regime. Are the Jets going to make the right move? And what the right move is this offseason is deciding if there is a quarterback in this class they really, really want. And is that quarterback going to take this team to the next level, which they've been looking for the last 50 years? And I don't know if there's one. I believe Fernando Mendoza is a guy that I like, but does that mean he's going to be a franchise player? I don't know. And fans, you don't know. Because once you go to the NFL, it's a fast-paced game. It's different than the NCAA. This is not playing the SEC, the Big Ten, or a Pac-12. This is different. It is different. The speed of the game is completely different. Ask Zach Wilson. He had no idea what he was walking into. He didn't know what the media was going to do to him, because as soon as he decided to speak to the media and say the things that he said and show up to Broadway shows and find out who his uncle is, he owns JetBlue. I mean, there's so many things that you wonder with the New York Jets that more than meets the eye about an organization that has been nothing but a joke and a laughingstock of everybody. Think about it. Rich Eisen is a Jet fan. He was excited about Aaron Rodgers. How quick was that over? How quick was that marriage? It was done in a game, really, in 4 plays. Aaron Rodgers' career with the New York Jets ended in 4 plays. And I don't care about the season they played after that. It ended in 4 plays. And then when we look at some of the things that the Jets have done over the years, trading Sam Darnold for a second and a fourth, where I thought Joe Douglas should have kept that and held on to Sam Darnold. What did the Jets give Sam Darnold when he was here? Nothing. They gave him nothing. No weapons. Nada. So what did they do? They brought in a BYU quarterback, which I agree. I said that I thought he was going to be good. A quarterback that didn't last more than a season, where everybody said, this guy isn't the right guy. Christian Hackenberg wasn't the right guy. None of these guys, but you had guys that might have been somewhat successful if you held on to them for a significant portion of time. Geno Smith being another. Seattle had a fun time with him. He was up for an MVP. He was a top 6, top 7 player for an MVP the year that he played well over there with Pete Carroll. That's why Pete decided to bring him in over there with Vegas. And now look at Sam. Look at the success Sam has had with Minnesota and now Seattle. Just earned himself a $100 million contract. Sam is happy. And when he left the New York Jets, I could only remember some of the things that he said on social media that pretty much settled him very happily to go to Carolina because he didn't want to be here anymore. He didn't want to deal with the media. He didn't want to deal with the fans. He didn't want to deal with the abuse that he was getting when he wasn't doing the things that they wanted. And that's win. And this team knows nothing about it. Now, Quinnen Williams. And I'm going to finish up here very quickly because I'm sure you guys got your take. What was the Jets' record with Quinnen Williams in the lineup? And I'm going to tell you what the record was. They were 33, if I'm not mistaken, and 75. 33, and even at 30, in the 30 wins mark and in the 70 lose mark, to tell me that this guy was something to cry about when the Jets decided to move on from him, I'm not crying. He's not a winning player. He doesn't win. And Ahmed, a.k.a. Sauce Gardner, what did they win with him? He has been here for 3 years. This was year 4 for him. He got a contract in a 3-year span. A big one. And what did he do? He was a 2-time All-Pro player. He was a 3-time Pro Bowl player. He shouldn't have made the Pro Bowl last year. He didn't play well at the tail end of the season, and he had a lot to say to the media at the end of the season. He is not a good fit here as far as Aaron Glenn is concerned. And only time will tell you if Aaron Glenn is the right guy here as well. I believe he is, but he needs to put the right personalities and he needs to put the team in position the way he sees fit to win.